Hello, and welcome to Community TV with Adaire. This is TV for you by TV from me, and this is where I talk to people in the community who are doing amazing things to help those people around them. It could be a yoga class, learning to cook, gardening, tarot card readings, whatever you're interested in. I'm bringing it to you here through Community TV with Adaire on My Time TV. Live. I'd like to welcome today Ros Boundy. Now, Ros is a hypnotherapist with a twist, where she has superpowers when it comes to healing and she has superpowers when it comes to healing, and she loves to work with people to help heal the spiritual aspects of their lives, to be able to live more in the now on their lives journey. Hello, Ros. How are you?
Yeah, hi, dear. I'm going fine.
I don't know if I've ever gotten through an entire introduction without stumbling over my words at some point. So that must be my signature.
Well, that's part of your twist.
My twist, yes. Or something I need to practice at. So Ros, thank you so much for joining us today. And I really do appreciate you jumping in at short notice. We've been live here with Community TV at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays I think probably for maybe going on for a year now. I'd have to go and have a look at back to see when I did my first one. Might even create a milestone on the page, but I've just really, and today I was in a bit of a pickle, and I reached out, and you were happy to jump in and share your superpowers and your talents with us, which I think is brilliant. So I love these fortuitous, spontaneous things that happen. So
definitely.
I do appreciate it. So let's have a chat about, you are a fellow hypnotherapist. Among others. So let's, because I know you're a hypnotherapist with a bit of a twist. So do you want to share, because I probably know a little bit more than what some people do because I've worked with you before, but what's the twist? What sort of things do you do that are in addition to hypnotherapy that help people?
Oh, look, it started quite a few years ago when I was looking for something to do to help. I've done volunteer ambulance work and things like that, and my whole life was changing at the time. So I was looking for something extra to extend myself, to be able to earn a living at the time, going through divorce and changing lifestyle, living by myself, and all of that brings you. And I knew that I identified that with some of what others were going through at the same time as well. So the hypnotherapy came quite a while after. It was more the body work and doing massage and various techniques within that field, the body work, and then growing more into, it's not just us as a body that we are, it is the spiritual aspect. Having been brought up in a Christian background, and it was Methodism, which can, although it wasn't strict Methodism and all the rest, but it's certainly an interesting pathway to grow in. And having the, you can't do tarot cards, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, with a lot of what I was taught as I was growing up. I was a bit of a rebel when I was a teenager and decided to go my own way, and all of what that involved. And, with the gap that was, it's not a gap, but what I filled my life with in growing a family, building a business with a husband and all that, to then changing what my life was being and becoming, involved the pathway of actually looking at my own spirituality and what it meant to me, and doing various things that helped with that growth and that pathway, that journey for me. So
you've got sorry to talk over you.
No, that's right.
I'm not talking to Theone, my Greek. who has taught me well to talk over people. Big hugs to you, Fiona.
Yes.
I know. So with you, you're saying that you were doing massage and body work before you found hypnotherapy. So that's new information to me. So what drew you to the body work and because it seems like an evolutionary process, doesn't it?
Well, yes, it has been. Well, it seems to go round in cycles, like I'm finding that life does. There's so much of what we do that's going round and round in cycles. Not so much circles, because that almost feels like you're not getting anywhere. But I see it more as a spiral that we start, and then we're connecting and more to that cosmic connection that we have, and whatever that involves for each individual person. So the body work was just because I liked giving people massage, and that developed into I better learn how to do it properly. And then that developed into whatever. There was some other subjects at the study at the college. It was South Australian Health Education Centre, which isn't anymore. That was taken over by Endeavour, or bought out by Endeavour.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I've had massages at the Endeavour College, because they were just up the road from where I used to work, and I'd pop up at lunchtime and have
down Curry Street was where I went. So, that was so many different new steps that I went through in my growth, because I'd never really gotten used to driving in the city. Well, I did when I did that. I went out and rented a house for myself for that study time, and that was the progression and start of shifting away from the marriage. And then discovering the various shamanic pathways, because I have been initiated into Moon Ki. Actually, I think I did it twice, or it could have been 3 times. Twice, I think, from memory.
I'm nodding like I know what you're talking about.
It's shamanic practice. So it really is looking inward in what your journey is, and connecting with that inner self in a much deeper way, rather than just being meditation. And it's actually working in those other worlds, the other dimensions. So rather than being just purely the spiritual, it's actually working more with the Mother Earth energy and what is natural nature, which is deeper than what we actually perceive. I suppose quantum physics might be part of that connection for those who understand that. It's something I practice more for myself, admittedly these days a little bit more ad hoc than I did back then, but that's still further part of that progression and that cycling, or whichever way it is that's clockwise, anti-clockwise, the up. So yeah, you understand what I mean.
So I would thank you for joining us, Tina. And if you're here, I see we've got a few people popped in. Just let us know who you are and where you're from. It'd be nice to, if you have any questions for Ros, please do ask them. She is a hypnotherapist with a twist, and I'm finding out that there's a bit more than one twist, and there's a lot more to you than I originally knew. So I'm learning as we go as well, which is really awesome. I love this process of discovery. So Ros, using these tools, the techniques, the spiritual evolution that you go through as to help people. And I just want to go back and just say, when I was practicing hypnotherapist, because now I help people rather than practice it myself. But when I was doing that, what I found was missing, and it was part of my evolutionary journey, was this whole spiritual side of it. Now, it was very one-dimensional. It was very pragmatic. It was very practical. But and I found that once I explored that side of it, and there was that allowing more of that in, and of my own spiritual journey, I found that I was more able to help people in a far deeper way than what I had just doing hypnotherapy. So did you have some comment around that?
Oh, definitely. During the time where I was doing the training, I was quite involved with a business called Kindred Spirit at Harndorf was where we were based. I'd joined in with some ladies there, learnt quite a lot around the spirituality, the connection, the journeying, and actually putting that connection in with some of the body work, because Horstman technique was another method that I'd used for doing a body work energy connection, and I still practice that. So that there was, every step of the way, it seemed to be that it was bringing me closer all the time to actually having that connection, being not so that there was differences, but that the whole of what we do is actually reliant on having it being balanced in that type of a way, that your spirituality isn't something that you do. It's more just something that you be.
I love it.
So I think as far as my growth goes, I'm more open now to actually listening to spirit or universe, whatever the name is that you're going to call your connection. For instance, Great Spirit could be one that I use occasionally, or just Spirit, or, it just depends. I'm not, the further along I'm going, I don't like labelling things.
So. And I guess, do you label, I don't know whether you do it according to what the listener, or the person you're speaking to. I was working in a not-for-profit, or doing some consulting to a not-for-profit, when I sort of had a bit more of a epiphany, or some more spiritual enlightenment, and the guy who was the CEO at the time was a very straight, very, like you'll say, Methodist. He's very, very orientated towards religion, and it was for me to explain how some of the things were going. I just had to call him the divine dude, or the divine dude. And it resonated, so we could have a little bit of a conversation. But it is so very, very personal, isn't it? I just want to shout out to Tina, who's in Black Hills, South Australia. She's currently studying hypnotherapy, so another fellow hypnotherapist. You know Tina?
Yeah.
Hi,
no,
Tina.
I don't. No.
You said, yeah, no, I don't.
I do that all the time. Yeah, no. It's almost like that guy in The Vicar at Dibley or whatever. No. Oh, whatever his name is. I don't remember that. When he means yes. The influences around us, like you said, I mean, yes, it's respecting the other person when you're actually communicating. I mean, that's what we're doing, is to understand each other. And I find it's just a level of respect to say, well, for those who are Christian, it's God, it's Jesus, it's the names that we put to the entities that we have as part of our faith journey for those who follow a faith. And I don't think it's anything but an individual's business, which way their beliefs are. Because that's where, even doing the hypnotherapy study, it really is part of what I learnt with that, in that we do get taught a lot that we're not really aware of as part of our past life experiences, that we can change, because that's the whole thing about hypnotherapy. You can change anything that you want to by just having your perception shift, or a belief move, or totally get destroyed. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually good to question, self-question, have things, I wouldn't say corrected, but have things more of what you want them to be, instead of what you always thought that they should be, because they don't have to be.
How does that look in real terms for somebody who has a problem, who needs, or who would love to have a mindset shift, or a shift in how they perceive things, so that they can, you might be stuck on a relationship, or you might be stuck on some addictive behavior, or stuck on, the number on the scales that you wish you weren't stuck on. How does that look when you're when you have people come to you? And would they come, that's the sort of things that they come to you with? This is a leading question too, by the way. So
look, mostly the requests have been for quit smoking and weight. I do have some and some odd ones that you sort of get surprised about, but think, oh yeah, well, why not? I mean, like I just said, anything is possible, even with hypnotherapy. It's not so much that person themselves has to believe, it's having that belief first as a therapist to move them through that limiting factor for themselves. So, the most odd one that I thought, it was a woman who was needing to have the last resort of an IVF program, and she had been to a hypnotherapist before and she knew that it worked, but this was the last ditch that she had, and she was going overseas to do it, and she just wanted to align her body to be able to receive embryo correctly, and have everything right. And for her, she sort of, it was just that, and it was that edge of it for her that, yes, once, that the procedure was done and all the rest, for her it was huge success because it was part of what she was determined to make her reality. So that was great to hear the result. And other times...
So she might, sorry, again, talking over you, but I just want to... So the hypnotherapy helped her to find the outcome that she wanted rather than fearing the outcome that she thought might happen? Or is that a refocus? Is that...
I think with hers, it was more just working with the body physical and realigning that so that everything was in alignment to be able to receive the embryo. And it was just so... She knew it would work, but it was that little edge that just wasn't quite sure. And so the procedure was basically just making sure, working through her body, feeling where it was out in her inner sense, and creating that space of having the cells work their own magic within her to be able to have everything working right. And it did. So it was a slowish, it wasn't slow process. It was just working through each of the steps up the body, because that's how I like to do it. And there's no set procedure. The way that I learnt the hypnotherapy, because I like doing things a bit just in the flow, and I liked his technique of teaching it not to a book and not to scripts. And, the theory was there and the working with other people was there to get us really practiced at what we were doing. And so my technique is more using just the intuition in how we need to progress. So that's what we did, progressed up and evened it out, and really good. Other methods, other situations can take just a slightly different method. Quit smoking, you lock the cigarettes in a thingy and throw away the key almost. I mean, it's similar, but not quite, if you know what I mean. It just took a different way of doing that. Weight management, because I think probably because that's something in myself, I know the basis is there for most of the clients who I've had come for that purpose. Hasn't always been successful in the result of actually getting weight as a number on the scales down, but I know it's increased their confidence in that they can do it if they choose it. And I think that's sometimes the difference. And, whether they're really ready to actually work with what is behind keeping weight on, because that's still something I'm working on. So
that's a huge thing, and I don't want to, because I'm about to. I don't want to unlock Pandora's box, but I do know, and I think it's an issue for a lot of women. I'm going to focus on women because I was able to donate 70 kilos to the universe and keep most of it off for a better part of 25 years, and in the last 18 months, like 20 kilos have found their way back, and I'm just going, what the, WTF? And I don't know whether it's got things to do with the limiting beliefs or the belief system around you put on weight when you get older. Is that an expectation that I have that is not even at the forefront of my mind, but it's deeply embedded in me, So there's nothing you can do about it because your hormones change and your body changes and your metabolism slows down. Holy shit, seriously.
And there's a plethora of excuses we can use to justify just being fat. I'm fat, I'm round, I've got the roles in the wrong place as well, right places. Like, who cares? I mean, honestly, for me, I've got to the point where who gives a shit? I mean, I do because of my health. Yes. It's something that really does, and I am working on it. But I know those excuses. So I've been along that pathway many, many times. I've been down to 60 kilos and back again to over 100 and down to 80 and back again. And I've had ill health. I mean, there's so many cycles in life. So does it really matter where you are? Just experience life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'm at the moment, because there's so much happening.
Natasha stopped in from Goondiwindi in Queensland, the only Lebanese Australian here. Beautiful. Welcome, Natasha. Welcome. And I'm going to ask, do you know Natasha? Was that a yes, no?
Yeah, that's a yes, no. I've seen Natasha around, and it's funny how sometimes it's not the names that you actually remember. It's more the little icons and the faces you see, especially the more that I'm on Facebook or the other, the Instagram, the Pinterest. I don't want to be on any of them. But because I've got to earn a living and learn how to get out there and do marketing differently. It's not something I've done before,
I can help you with that. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I can remove some limiting beliefs.
Be good if it was that easy for self.
Shall we book a session? No. I do love what you said. I'll just take it back before, because it is a topic close to my heart. And if anyone has any questions for Ros, just please type them in the chat here, and we'll and she will endeavour to answer them. But I wanted to make mention about the sort of older, well, not old, but sort of over 40 female who is, sort of looking at changing body shapes and changing, the numbers on the scales and stuff like that. And is it more around, like you were saying, is it more around like, or perhaps it's about learning to, like you said, accept what is and moving forward from there rather than trying to fight what is?
Look, from my own experience, because I am 59 now, very nearly at that big 60, and I'm sort of thinking, no, I'm not scared of the numbers. You just feel
35 next year, and I'd expect a party for an invite to your party.
I've got a twin. The initial reaction was, we've got to have a birthday party for her 60th. And I'm thinking, no. Yes, no. Anyway, it's still part of that cycle, I think, really, because at that time you're starting to, I'm just trying to think, when did things start to go a bit, where my husband and my pathways were separating. I'm sort of thinking I didn't really compare myself to others for the purpose of continuing to be attractive for sexual activity or anything. It wasn't anything like that, but you still are comparing, and I was comparing, but just because things just had started to it's just that my life was changing. My focus was being something different. I needed companionship of a friend being present, and he wasn't, because my ex he's a workaholic. I think he probably still is. It's just needing that presence of someone else. So you start wondering why. And that started some of that yo-yo dieting thing. I mean, I face it, I've been big most of my life, and you do that yo-yo dieting quite a lot, many times. Try this, try that. At some point, I just gave up and thought it's not worth it. Just eat healthy and the rest. But as time goes on, that the scientists and dietitians and nutritionists have told us, this is good for us, that's bad for us, and then they change their minds, and then there's something else that's been discovered, and you sort of, look, just eat what you front. Oh, I was going to say that naughty word. Just eat what you like, sensibly, in moderation.
Oh, I love it. That is so cool.
So it's being comfortable with yourself. And
I'm going to read that.
I've got it.
That was such a good catch. That was like you caught it and it was falling out your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gold. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those funny things too. In years gone by, when I was working in our business, because it was growing business, and we did have employees, and he still does, but there was lovely employees at the time. It was a bit of a roughy type of a industry because it was earth moving and concrete batching and stuff. But anytime I was present, all the guys that say ducks on the pond, it took me a while to find out what the heck ducks on the pond meant. It meant a lady is coming, stop your swearing. It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen. I think, times have changed. You know, that level of respect is just gone, and you sort of think some things from old were good.
Oh, well, that's gold. Ros, I just want to, we'll be winding it up, and just thank you so much for joining me and everyone here on Community TV with Adaire. Where can we find you? Do you practice online?
I'm growing that because I'm learning from someone how to use Facebook. I think that might be you, Adaire. And friends who've been using it. Yeah, look, because my old business name, it still is actually my registered business name, is Bet's Holistic Therapy. I do have a page on Facebook with that, but I'm starting to use the Hypnosis Plus with Ros. So that is in your link there somewhere. I think you had that in the description.
Yeah. And even if people wanted to find you, Ros Boundy, and send you a private message, would be another way that they could connect with you as well. But certainly jump over and have a look at the Hypnosis Plus. And
it does have the ad sign in front of the plus.
Right.
I just decided
it's a real first aid for you. So
it's wonderful delving into all of that area, because the one that I'm more passionate about but still growing is the sound therapy. But I use that for everybody. It's the voice. So
the voice. Of course, beautiful. I love it. I do. I love it.
Well, I use instruments too, but yeah.
So when I said you're practicing online, do you do Zoom or Skype, or is it all face to face?
I can do. With the hypnotherapy, you can use those avenues.
Yes, and I know, and I've done that myself, and I think it's quite effective. A few little tweaks that you have to make to do backup, but generally speaking, it's just as effective doing it online. So if you are not in Adelaide or in the vicinity of where Ros is, you are more than welcome to reach out and book a session, or even just have a discovery call that people can have a pre-chat with you to see if you're...
Well, they can. I haven't set that up yet, though. I might need some help with that.
Oh, easy. I was going to say easy, but I won't say that out loud. Just reach out to Ros, and she will give you the lowdown on how it all works, and how the best way to come on board for changing your life using hypnotherapy with a twist, which could be sound therapy, voice, or it could be definitely with the spiritual intent, or the spiritual things woven through it. So absolutely. I love it. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ros. I really appreciate you jumping in. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to wind it up, and then I'll see you in the lobby.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Ros was going to say something, and I dropped her out at the lobby. Sorry. I will find out what that is, and we'll just type it in below afterwards. Thank you so much for joining me today and joining Ros, hypnotherapist with a twist. It's Community TV with Adaire. I'm live here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Australian Central Daylight Time now. We're on Daylight Savings. I do look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. Have a wonderful week ahead. And that's it. I'm Adaire Palmer. Bye for now.